And gentlemen, to round number 5 for Spanish Grand Prix. Usually at this time this week I'd be doing my race review for the Australian Grand Prix, or I'd be doing my race preview for next weekend's Bahrain Grand Prix. However, unfortunately, due to the cancellation of many races, it's time to play more F1 2019 round number 5 for the Spanish Grand Prix, of course. So yeah, still playing as Fabian Vettel in this career mode, Season 1. And we're going to continue this career mode up till the new F1 calendar begins. So that's at least a couple of months by the looks of things at the moment. And today, I believe, is going to be the first truly wet Grand Prix, believe it or not, as rain was due. Now, last time out, I don't know whether you guys remembered, we had some update performances due to go on the car. Unfortunately, they failed, but neither here or there. Regardless of updates, we're going to have, well, we've qualified P7, which is pretty good. It's going to be a fully wet Grand Prix. I believe like intermediate conditions, really. I don't think we'll be on the wet, not quite, but yeah, we'll see what the race will entail today. So I'll retract my words immediately. Maybe wets will be required here. We'll soon see.
There's no room for mistakes in a Grand Prix that's well known for creating them.
So heavy rain all race long by the looks of it.
From pole position down to a slippery turn 1 here, the first of 16 corners around this 2.89 mile racetrack. The long wide turn 3 and the uphill right-hander of turn 9 can both be taken full throttle in the right conditions, but I doubt very much we'll be seeing any of that today. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Let's talk about King. As with all the drivers at this level, they have a lot of ambition, but Formula One's a daunting step up from any.
So third race in a row where we're getting a mention.
Right from the start.
That's right, it is a difficult environment to come into. In junior categories, you're competing against drivers with similar levels of experience, but some of these guys in Formula One have been there for over a decade. But I have to say, in this case, it's so far so good.
So here we go then, for race rundown, and who's on pole? We've got Lewis Hamilton on pole, followed by Sebastian on second. Third, we got Leclerc, Bottas in fourth. Then fifth, we got Albon, sixth, Verstappen, seventh, ourselves, eighth, Sainz, ninth, Perez, 10th, Hulkenberg, Norris, 11th, 12th, Magnussen, 13th, Raikkonen, 14th, Ricciardo, 15th, Stroll, 16th, Kvyat, Perez, Gasly in 17th, Grosjean in 18th, and then Russell and Kubica in the last two spots on the grid, 19th and 20th. So pretty exciting lineup then there, not a bad starting grid. But then here we go then, formation lap about to get underway. If it's going to be wet all race long, well, throw strategy a little bit out of the window, this would. So, yeah, wet race obviously here. First full wet race of the season, obviously, because we haven't actually driven in these wet conditions this season. I believe we've had wet race, or a wet part of the race. I believe the Chinese Grand Prix, it went from dry to wet, it sort of transitioned, but we didn't go on to the full wets. This is starting off on the full wets. Whether or not we'll go on to the intermediates later on, I have my doubts, but yeah, this is a fully fledged wet race, and with a race spun on the formation lap, which is a bit annoying here. I'm gonna just use a flashback, but yeah, to spin on a formation lap, not the greatest thing to do. As we try and warm up the tyres. Still got to warm up the tyres, obviously, in wet conditions. And, yeah, you know, obviously, the car still more or less works the same. But in these wet conditions, the car can feel sometimes a bit like a boat. And you do have to be a bit more careful on your turning into a corner. Yeah, you know, it's a lot more difficult to drive than a Formula 1 car in these conditions. Not easy. But yeah, neither here or there as we warm up the tyres.
The radar suggests that this heavy rain will be with us for a while now.
So, obviously, got, I believe, 19 laps around here, maybe less. I think it's actually less, but still a long race. This one, or more longer, and in these conditions, that's twice as long, really. Because obviously, yeah, more prone to mistakes, but neither here or there. Still another good starting position we're in. Let's see what we can do then. As we line up on the grid for round number 5 for the Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Carlos Sainz, the homegrown hero. Then I guess here, carrying the Spanish flag after Alonso retirement.
Be patient and watch for the lights.
Here we go then. So we're about to go to 5 red lights. So 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's been a very good start actually by ourselves as we sort of go into the second part of the launch and yeah, sort of get a bit of wheel spin then there in third gear still as we go down the outside and just cluttering our front wing a little bit. So we're going to sort of redo that start again. We're not going to restart massively, just restart to the point where we don't lose our front wing. Then they're going into turn 1 and there, because that's the last thing I want, as we now try and go up the hill and just trying to, you know, get out of that visibility, because visibility is so poor, which makes it a little bit more difficult to drive in these conditions, as you'd expect. As you can just see, you can barely see, well, you can see a few cars in front. Obviously in real life it'd be far worse than this, of course, I would have suspected, but as you can see, it's still not great as we go down the inside here of Max Verstappen. Can we do it? Can we get the job done? Gonna have to try and convert around the outside. Yes, we can, as we go around the outside of Max Verstappen. Then there, nice move down Verstappen's inside. Then here in the early phase of the Spanish Grand Prix, and the car just sliding a little bit all over the place right now in this early moment of the Grand Prix, as car obviously, well, as we're searching for traction. Once you get into a rhythm in wet races, you can be very quick though. Alright, trying to break the slipstream a little bit here. Verstappen now tucks back into my slipstream as we try and chase down Alex Albon. So it does look like Albon's got a bit more pace than me right now. Not gonna lie, still feel like Red Bulls still have good pace as we make small error, but we're gonna just be able to cover it due to the fact we sort of went in a bit deep, but we were able to get power down nice and early. And again, another slide from the rear of the Alfa Romeo car, our car, as it's so tricky, you know, to just get the power down, you know, and to do everything in wet conditions. It makes car just twice as, let's say, less grip, as you'll see throughout the course of this race, I suspect. Like, you know, it means everything feels like you've got less front end grip, less, you know, rear grip. Well, you do have less grip, simple as that, really, you know, and you're just trying to search for the grip all the time, really. And you can see very poor sector through there. As we'll now try and break the toe once again.
You've lost some time to the car behind.
As here comes Max Verstappen. Max is going to go for it then down the inside here. He'll have the inside line. Now it's who can break a little bit later, if anyone can break later, as myself and Verstappen battling for P6 here. And we're not going to let Verstappen go through easily. We're going to try and hold Verstappen off for as long as we possibly dare and can. Verstappen then again going down the inside here possibly, and again making me sort of go a bit defensive then, and yes, we do successfully hold then Verstappen off then there. And that could be a very reoccurring theme of this race actually, holding Verstappen off here. So right, it doesn't look like we've got pace to fully fledged go with the Red Bulls, but you know, it doesn't look like the cars behind, or all the cars behind. Maybe Sainz has got a bit of pace in him here in these wet conditions. That could be a threat to us in this race, but certainly majority of the cars behind, like the Renault, certainly don't seem like they've got the pace to fully fledged go with us right now in this Grand Prix. And we've made an error, as you can see. I'm going to just use a flashback here to rectify that error. Due to the fact it's wet today, I'm going to try and not be lenient on myself, but I'm going to try and be a bit more like lenient in that situation. Because we've only had to use 2 flashbacks right now. One for that loss of front wing in turn 1, and 2 for that spin. And that's in 3 laps. So let's say we don't have another spin now for 3 laps or whatever. I'd use then a flashback, you know. I'm going to be a bit more lenient on myself, but Verstappen here pushes me out wide. Myself and Verstappen really fighting for a position. I'm going to give Verstappen the position because I think he's got this here. As we really having to, what going on there? Like, we made such a driver error there. Well, I'm just going to use a flashback from here. Right. We sort of got bogged down a little bit behind the Verstappen. Right, circuit is looking better. Still probably not really suitable for inters, or inters wouldn't give you any, you know, extra comfort in this weather right now. In this final sector, the car actually feels quite good, actually. I'm not going to lie. Feels pretty stable. But as soon as you get to a more medium speed corner, let's say a bit like that, the car feels a bit more unstable. So through low speed, I'm not struggling, if that makes sense. I'd say right now, the issue is in high speed and medium speeds. And I'm not struggling so much for straight line pace. You know, that could also be due to the fact we have taken a new engine. But I tell you what, it's so weird driving in wet conditions, especially after all weekend has been dry. Like, literally, practice was dry. You know, the qualifying was dry. So, you know, to go from a dry conditions to wet is quite weird thing to do. Car getting a bit slidey. So yeah, again, easily defending down this straight. So long we get a good exit by the looks of it of that last corner, Verstappen just can't touch us right now. It's just about focusing.
Is 4.2 seconds.
Alright, let's try and pull away from from the midfield pack a little bit. Try and create our own gap. This has been a very good lap actually. Personal best, really. And in fact we've closed the gap slightly on Alex Albon. Certainly feeling very good this lap. Oh, that's not a good exit there.
We're starting to catch the car in front, but we need to look after the tyres. We won't be making another pit stop. Gap to teammate behind is 5.0 seconds.
So we've got a 5 seconds gap to our teammate. Bit on the grass there as we go up the hill, and again just struggling for a bit of traction up that hill.
Ahead is 3.5 seconds.
So 3.5 seconds, so gap has actually come down, and the gap now is up behind us to 1.3.
Let's increase ERS deployment.
So yeah, you know, still very, very wet conditions here in the Spanish Grand Prix, as we're about now halfway through this race. Really, literally, you can't just. What happened there? I literally felt like we lost traction mid-corner about now. Literally, it feels like we've lost a little bit of traction, or we were about to spin, and then, yeah, you know. Not a nice feeling when that happens, I'll tell you that now. But yeah, it just felt like when you lose traction, it seriously goes. Oh, that was a bit shit. So this lap not being quite as strong or good as the previous lap, but it's still okay, 3.5. We haven't really lost any time or gained any time. Pace is actually rather good, actually, not gonna lie. Pace isn't too bad. But trouble is, you know, as you'll see, I think seeing is pace maybe pretty okay. Like, it's nothing spectacular. Like, we're quicker than the Verstappen by the looks of it. Certainly. And the thing is, pace in wet conditions is only part of the story. In the wet, you need to be consistent. And unfortunately, that neither of us, well, neither am I being. I'm not being consistent. I'm not being, you know, that quick. Like, you know, pace is good, but not spectacular. It's not like the best pace you ever see. Driver in front.
Albon ahead, they're on old wets. Their tyres are 9 laps old. The time last lap was a 1:37.7. You're falling back by 1/10 a lap.
Literally, just so. Just having a look at how tyres are doing. Nah, tyres are okay. Like, the thing is, okay, about also wet races, especially when you're doing 25% race distance, like I am. You know, if you pit, do you want to pit and lose so much time? Or do you not pit and don't lose any time? And just hold out on the tyres you've got? That is always the ultimate question you gotta put to yourself. Thing is, right now, I'm certainly not pitting unless others pit, like behind me. But yeah, I don't think, you know, pitting right now would be worth it. Right, so gap's 3.1. So, race engineer saying track's drying, apparently. Personally, I think really it's not drying too well, because if it was, I'd be a lot more happier. Trust me. Like, sure, we've posted our quickest lap, but still way off intermediates.
ERS deployment. It's time to use some of this charge.
Oh, I want to use a flashback. I think I am going to use a flashback. Because I was in a bit of a rhythm actually, up to that point. Like, I'm not saying I was driving absolutely flawlessly, but yeah. I was in a bit of a rhythm, so yeah, we're going to try and not use any flashbacks now till the end of the Grand Prix. So if we do spin, I might not use any flashbacks regardless now. But that's about, I think, our third or fourth today, which isn't too bad, especially considering it's a wet race. You know, usually dry races I probably wouldn't have to use any. See, about Spain, it's all about getting into a rhythm. And once you're in a rhythm, this circuit can be very, I don't know, there's something about it, it can be very, very enjoyable to drive. Especially once you've cracked yourself into a rhythm around here, it's a very good, enjoyable circuit. Now, as I say, like, driving in wet conditions makes it twice as difficult this circuit, of course. But it makes any circuit difficult to drive. And actually, we've not done too bad. As I say, pace-wise, we've been pretty good. We've kept up with, more or less, the Red Bulls. We've not been, obviously, on the pace of the leaders. Nowhere near them. But it's only been quicker than Sainz. So, at a minimum, we deserve at least P7. Right now, but also we've got the pace to get P6. Like, you can clearly see, whilst Verstappen is there, and he's certainly a very strong contender that I'm mindful of, he's not done anything spectacular either, where to the point you go, actually, he deserves this position more than myself. You know, really, to tell you the truth. Thing about though Spain, it is a difficult circuit to overtake. As you're saying, all I have to do is get a good exit off that final corner, and he's never overtaken me.
Remember, we need to get to the end of the race on these tyres. We're leading our teammate by 13.4 seconds.
So we've got 13.4 second gap now to our teammate, and Verstappen's now got past. Can we get back at Verstappen? Can we? No, not quite. We're going to now try around a long way, maybe. I'm not sure whether this will work or not. Going to try and get a cutback. This is so like a ding-dong bout, and we've injured ourselves. But I'm still going to try and race with that injury.
Alright, so we've been looking at the damage, and we think you should be okay to continue. It'll cost us a little bit of time, but we're nearly at the end of the race.
So, you know, nearly at the end of the race, which I totally agree with. It's going to cost us probably a little bit of time down in the longer corners, but oh well. We'll try and find a way to manage it. We've got a pretty healthy gap either way, back to now Sainz. As I say, Verstappen sort of now owns that P6. He deserves that now.
If you think you can get past, increase ERS deployment.
As I say, I'm not going to use a flashback unless one was needed. Yeah. Actually, though, the car is actually a little bit more drivable right now. I don't know why, but it feels a little bit more drivable. As if we've got more grip. And you just see, we've actually opened up the gap rather than the gap coming down. So Verstappen certainly getting away, unleashing his potential now. A yellow flag. Roman Grosjean out of the race, out of the Spanish Grand Prix. Won't make too much difference to our race, unfortunately, but he's out. Thing is though, today we're going to strengthen our lead anyway in the drivers in I believe 6th, like, you know, really over the rest of the midfield, so that's obviously a good thing, because Sergio Perez sort of took a bit of a chunk out of us last time, you know, which was a bit of a disappointment, but yeah, as you can see, Leclerc doing fastest lap now. Final corner we come, and across the line. 2 seconds now back to Verstappen. How much gap back to Sainz? Not much. 4.8. So yeah, gap's pretty good behind either way right now.
Yellow flag. Okay, clear.
So we're going into 9 laps of this race now, and looking pretty good. I think P7 is ours, so long we don't make too many, well, a mistake.
Let's turn up the ERS deployment and burn some of this energy.
Our car still feels pretty much very, very good. In fact, it feels a little bit more drivable, especially at the front. Feels more understeery, which I like in wet conditions. I don't like a car that oversteers in wet. Alright. 3.2 seconds gap. And 4.6 back to Sainz. So yeah, that gap is kind of down, but only by 0.2 seconds per lap, really. We're not losing much back to Sainz. Not like we're losing a second a lap. We're probably losing a lot to Albon and Verstappen, because as you can see, Verstappen's just gaining everywhere right now. 0.4 loss there in that first sector, but yeah, got one more lap to go after this, so we're certainly just now sort of in a mindset, because I know I'm not going to get, you know, more points today, unfortunately, unless there's a retirement up ahead of us. So, you know, I'm sort of now gone into that mindset where you just want to bring the car home. You know, you're not really too worried. We know we've got a gap, so it's not about taking risks anymore. It's just about bringing the car home, but you don't want to relax either too much. Because the moment you switch off, that's the moment when well, in this weather at least, the car will bite and, yeah, you'll certainly lose the place. So Leclerc going even faster, 1.64 in the dying laps of this race. Final few moments.
This is your final lap of the race. Gap to teammate behind is 15.5 seconds.
Here we go then.
The gap to the car ahead is 5.4 seconds.
And up the hill. Now final corner, across the line, it's P7.
That's the end of the race.
That's a good race, a good result then in the end. Yeah, that is that then. Another good race.
Yes, another historic win under their belts. Well
And
done.
Mercedes wins. Who is our race winner? Lewis Hamilton then wins today. Good race then for him, and is that his first win of the season? It must be, actually. I know that's ages. So first win of season for Lewis Hamilton then. I don't know whether that means he will close the gap down to 24 points. Pretty sure he will, but maybe 25 actually, due to the fact Leclerc got fastest lap, I presume. So yeah, Lewis Hamilton then wins the Spanish Grand Prix, second and third for the two Ferraris. So a very good result still for Ferrari though. But Lewis Hamilton then, car number 44, is the race winner today. And absolutely excellent for Lewis Hamilton. So yeah, you know, as I say, we get another 6 points, and yeah, obviously that's good for us. Having a look at the race highlights quickly, not really too many of them to show you really, I wouldn't have thought. So here's the start, pretty good start, you know. Actually, it was a good first initial launch. But yeah, here's our overtake on Max Verstappen. Down the inside, barging our way through. Bit aggressive, you could argue, but we had to convert around the outside. Going wide out of that corner, purposely to try and just get off the line. I did this quite a few times during the race, actually. And this is sort of where we started to struggle a little bit. Never knew Verstappen did that. And this was Verstappen going up my inside. This is where sort of had that moment off track. So you use flashback. Yeah, okay, maybe we shouldn't have done, arguably, but yeah. Now me and Verstappen battling. That's where we lost our front wing, and actually, and just see what actually happened. Here we go back and see what we were doing. Battling there. Nice battle that was actually. Sort of trying to play around with the lines, you know. And yeah, we lost a bit of front wing. And just show you how much front wing we lost. Right, it wasn't like a small amount. We actually lost quite a lot of it, as you can see. So a whole end plate, really, worth of front wing, gone then there. And that's a lot of downforce off the car. Really, that's certainly a lot of downforce then there. Taken off the car, and then from there, really, onwards. Whilst pace was still relatively good, relatively strong, but it was just about bringing the car home. Then from there on in and across the line we come then, as you can see, to take the checkered flag. P7, McLaren in P8 and Perez P9. So yeah, pretty good result then though. Looking at standings then, so yes, it's Charles Leclerc who still leads the way from Lewis Hamilton now. 24 points is the gap down to. Bottas moves down to third, Vettel in fourth. So yeah, Vettel closing that gap as well. 36 points now. We still remain in sixth, however, a certainly closer sixth. Only we got a about a 3-point lead back to Albon, and about a 10-point lead, 9-point lead back to Perez. So that's pretty decent, handy to have. Raikkonen, long way off us at the moment, so yeah, not bad. Yeah, but certainly interesting. In terms of the championship, well, we do open up a lead this weekend due to the fact, like, we gained quite a nice handy 4 points over our rivals. So we're almost at a 20-point lead over Racing Point. We've certainly got a very decent lead over McLaren today. But yeah, you know, so yeah, this championship looking very, very interesting indeed. So yeah, yeah, shame obviously Raikkonen couldn't get further points today, for sure, but that's racing for you. Sometimes you don't necessarily get them points all the time, and yeah, but yeah, another media interview then here. Let's see what we have to say.
Than Formula 1 today, wasn't it? You're surpassing all expectations. Did you feel comfortable in the wet weather today? Appreciate your
So
time.
right, there we go then. So that is the media interviews done and dealt with then there. So that should increase our ratemanship or whatever, sportsmanship. Because I'm trying to be a very sportman driver, I hope, in this series or season. You know, because as you know, obviously a young Formula 1 driver, you don't want to be boasting all the time, because you're not, let's say, you know, the best driver in the world yet. We're not. But yeah, we've actually had a very, very good race in there. So that was pretty good. And there.
This could be a good opportunity to play up your rivalry for the press.
So right,
and your reputation.
gonna obviously hopefully develop that. That will come next weekend now in Monaco. It was due to come actually this race. So we've got 3 hopefully R&D updates to come next time out. Let's jump forward to the next race, of course, to the Monaco GP. And yeah, you know, certainly a circuit, you know, quite frankly, I don't mind Monaco, but for racing, it's not the best, shall we say. Like, it's a good race, it's a good circuit, famous, obviously, you know, everyone's heard, I think, of the Monaco GP. It's a bit like the Grand National, really. And I think it's actually run on the same day as the Grand National in May. So yeah, you know, everyone's heard of it. They know what it really is, the Monaco GP. World famous, of course. And yeah, as you can tell, you know, obviously, great race.
I see you've been
yeah,
skipping a
we'll
lot
see.
of practice sessions lately. Keep in mind,
So,
this is useful to get
oh, for crying out loud.
setups and also helps us gather data for car development. Make sure you don't jeopardize your results by taking these sessions too lightly.
Really? Really, boys? Literally, they're having a joke with me in this game, I swear. Like, you know, that's now 2 or 3 weeks in a row, where, you know, the development upgrades have failed, you know, and I've now had to spend our resource points just on recovering them developments. Like, they always come through second time, but they're just failing right now, so, yeah, that's not great. In terms of what we'll upgrade next, right, the weakest area we're weak in is, you know, probably, we're pretty good in the engine department, so really I feel like the engine, probably we won't maybe making upgrades for the next few races in engine. In terms of chassis, I feel like that's where our weakness is, so I'll probably upgrade these lot next. They won't cost too much, I'll probably get them on the car before the midsummer break. You know, and then we'll probably focus on the engine just a little bit before Italy. And the aerodynamic side maybe a little bit before Italy. So yeah, you know, we want to make quite a few upgrades this season. In terms of progress, actually we've been pretty decent in terms of our updating. Like, we've been managing to make upgrades each single race. Like, we're now well and truly in that midfield pack. Like, but you know, just look at the jump between a midfield team and a top tier team. Like, it is quite a lot, you know. Like, we're certainly though in that midfield pack, because at the start of this career mode we were sort of like not quite in the midfield pack, we were sort of like, you know, a little bit below midfield. So yeah, we've certainly made quite a leap. I think we were second worst team, we've now gone up by 2, so we're now the 4th worst team, or if you want to put it another way, we should be finishing, you know, 7th in the championship this season, in terms of constructors. Right now we're 3 above that, so we're on par with McLaren. So yeah, you know, we're sort of about right, you know, really. Right, we're going to put in, obviously, the older stuff, the older equipment, obviously now, because for FP1. And that'll be it then, folks. Have a great day. I'll see you next time for Monaco GP. Monaco, perfectly pitch dry, brilliant, I guess, you know, in other words. Until then, guys, have a great day. See you next time.